Hey guys, it's Jackie here, just kind of playing myself here. It's not Sins review. And don't be alarmed by what's going on behind me. This is going to be part of the Sins review, and it's very much just staged persona. So yeah, I'm not, into devil worship or anything like that. Anyway, so I kind of just wanted to do something a little different from the Sins review and kind of just do like a top 10 list for my favorite movies from last year, 2021. So here we go. This was the first movie that I saw in theaters since the coronavirus pandemic started, and a lot of the theaters were closed down for a while, and then started having like rules and your regulations where you have to wear a mask, and obviously people were getting vaccinated. There was Pfizer and Moderna and all that. But anyway, I know that I didn't review this movie Godzilla versus Kong for the Sins review because I started the Sins review sometime in September, but I saw a lot of these other movies before that, and I saw this movie before all the other ones. Like there was Godzilla from I think 2014, and then like I think Kong Skull Island was somewhere after that. I think it was like 2017, but then I guess what would come after that in the canon was Godzilla King of the Monsters, and then this Godzilla versus Kong. And yeah, I know there was a 1968 film, I believe, called King Kong versus Godzilla, and obviously that's kind of being redone here. And really the reason why this movie is kind of low on my list is because even though I did really enjoy it, it's the whole Godzilla versus Kong thing. eh, well, I still don't want to give away spoilers because I do kind of recommend watching it, but yeah, they were trying to make it seem like this was going to be like a ultimate showdown between these two iconic giant titans, I think is what they called them. And you know they kind of, again, trying not to do spoilers, they kind of do a little cop out. Now I'm not going to say anything more than that, but it's just that part was a little disappointing to me, but other than that I still found it entertaining. So the Fear Street trilogy from Netflix was obviously those were obviously the first movies that I ever reviewed for the Sins review, which is you know very much it's kind of scripted, and the whole thing with me becoming a vampire by sometime after I think my third episode. Um, yeah, all that's scripted. But yeah, I still voice like my genuine opinion, and I mentioned that I loved like the first two Fear Streets, which were very slasher based, and then this one, Fear Street, 1666, showing that 666 and number of the beast, and fuck, stop that, so it was trying to be a little funny there. Yeah, I still kind of liked it, and I recommend watching it just because, if you want to watch like the trilogy, and it's not like too awful bad where it's like it ruins the whole thing. It's just I didn't find too much of an appeal in it. It was kind of confusing. Like there were certain characters inserted into other characters from the past, and there was the whole curse with the witch, like Sarah Fear, and and obviously there was something different going on with that, and whatever we knew before in the previous films, yeah. But and when it goes back to 1994, that's when things pick up and kind of get better. But yeah, the whole thing with being back in time, it was kind of a drag, and I just couldn't really get into it that much. But it still was pretty okay for being a horror type movie. And yeah, I also reviewed this sometime in October of last year. I was kind of getting into the whole, doing my Halloween special with, the All Hollow Sins and all that. But yeah, I saw a lot of other movies and was doing other reviews that I wanted to do. But I really liked this movie. Malignant, definitely surprised me. I mean, I was very interested in like seeing it because it's again horror. I love horror movies, and it just seemed like it would be pretty scary. And I saw that after I saw Candyman 2021, which I'm just gonna let you know that one's not gonna be on the list, and I have my reasons. And all of this entire list is my opinion, so I don't want to offend anyone, but yeah. Anyway, I thought *Malignant* was pretty good. You saw what score I gave all of these, and yeah, it has like it's kind of like *The Conjuring*, except it's not, and it's kind of has some paranormal, supernatural type stuff going on, and it just. I think the twist at the end, like, I kind of saw a little something similar to that, but again, I don't want to spoil it, but it was great, and I actually ended up buying the DVD for *Malignant*. In fact, I bought a lot of DVDs because I want to watch it over and over because it's really that good. So we're back to the Fear Street trilogy, from Netflix, and yeah, I definitely really liked Fear Street 1978. It was definitely, again, a lot of slasher vibes, a lot of inspiration from, Friday the 13th and all that, and it was just, again, really good. It was scary, but it was also a fun type of slasher going on there, and yeah, it's just, again, I thought Netflix was doing really good with a lot of their horror. I mean, Fear Street I think is probably one of the better horror, like, in fact, probably the best movie trilogy that they've ever had. I mean, I don't really have too much to compare them to, but I definitely think they stepped up their game a lot. And Fear Street, 1978, was really good. And it's yeah. And again, 1666 was kind of a not so what I would call a grade. I didn't give it a perfect score of full sins or anything, but I definitely, thought 1978 was pretty good. So yeah, Fear Street, again, the trilogy, I'm doing like all those movies that I thought were good. Which includes the trilogy. So obviously, the first one was Fear Street, 1994, and that kind of got Scream vibes, slasher vibes, a lot of that, a little bit of supernatural here and there, and I thoroughly enjoyed it, and again, I was kind of surprised at how good it was. I mean, I was at least trying to, get more into like, watching some new horror films because, during the pandemic, um, you know, in the year 2020, where we couldn't really go anywhere except, probably to work, and we always had to wear masks, and there was just so many unknowns about COVID-19. And I just ended up watching a lot of older horror films like the Paul W.S. Anderson Resident Evil films, and even though they're garbage, I know, but they're at least moderately entertaining garbage, and they helped me kind of get through the pandemic a little bit. I also started playing the Resident Evil video games, and that'll be a discussion for another time. But I'm definitely glad that there was a lot of new horror, from last year that I was able to enjoy. So yeah, one of the first vampire movies that I reviewed for the Sins review, that, and before that I reviewed, I believe it was 10 Minutes to Midnight, which was, I don't think it was ever theatrically released. I got the DVD, and I probably wasted my money because I obviously didn't care for that. But Blood Red Sky, it was a German film. There was some, English-speaking actors in there, and there was, English dubbing, which I didn't think was all that great. And it's just, especially with the little kid. What was his name again? Because I know Nadia was the protagonist, and she was a vampire, but she was also trying to cure herself and trying to not go all vamp out. I think it was, yeah, her son's name was Elias. And whenever, again, I mentioned this in my review, but I really did like it. I thought it was pretty damn good. I mean, vampires on a plane. I've had it with these motherfucking vampires on this plane. Yeah. It was just really cool, and yeah, Netflix, again, they really stepped up their game with horror, at least by that point. I mean, there were some duds afterwards, but I'd definitely say Blood Red Sky is definitely a standout in that category. So I watched the anime of Demon Slayer, Kimetsu no Yaiba on Netflix, and again, I was kind of looking for new, aside from just new horror movies, I was looking for some anime that I kind of wanted to watch, particularly horror, but it didn't have to be, because I am a pretty big fan of horror and anime, and even if the anime is not necessarily horror or action or sci-fi, I still was kind of trying to get into those. And, I watched the whole, I guess, first season of Demon Slayer, Kimetsu no Yaiba. I don't know if I need to say the Kimetsu no Yaiba. I'll just say Demon Slayer. But anyway, I obviously didn't review that for the Sins review. Again, I went and saw this in theaters before I even started the Sins review. Anyway, I thought that, Kimetsu no Yaiba, Mugen Train, Demon Slayer, Mugen Train, that movie was actually pretty good, pretty decent. It kind of has horror vibes. It's also kind of categorized as adventure and action and kind of fantasy. The main character is Tanjiro. He, if you, seen the anime, you know who I'm talking about. And I just, and again, like I showed before, it was the Japanese audio. So I did have to, in the theater, I had to, kind of, look at the subtitles just to kind of hear what they're saying. But, I still enjoyed it, and I actually know a bit of Japanese, so it wasn't that hard to pick up on what they were saying, and I didn't have to strain my eyes too much to see the subtitles, and it was just really entertaining. Again, it kind of has the horror elements as well. I guess the antagonist or villain is this, this demon type, demon. Let's just say that that has this hand that has like, the mouth on it, and he can like speak through it. He can also detach it from his body, and yeah, that was a lot of creepy stuff there. I really think they nailed a lot of the creepy, spooky horror factor in the movie, and I do highly recommend it. And just to kind of get this out of the way, the the anime, as far as I know, the first season of Demon Slayer is on Netflix. I think there's another one that came out. It's called the Entertainment District arc. I haven't seen it show up on Netflix, but I followed the Demon Slayer Facebook group, and I've seen that it's available on Crunchyroll, which is a website, and that people can like watch it. I think it's a network of some kind, but anyway, I'm looking forward to seeing that whenever I can. And I do highly recommend watching the anime show as well, particularly before seeing Mugen Train. So to again get this out of the way, the only Marvel comics that I've ever read were mostly Spider-Man and X-Men. I think one of the Fantastic Four type ones. I'd never read like Captain America or Thor or Iron Man. I was aware of all those characters, particularly from watching a lot of the Marvel movies, that now have culminated into the MCU, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and I obviously, last year saw Black Widow, which is, the Scarlett Johansson character from those Marvel's Avengers movies. And it was basically it took place, I guess, after Civil War, because that's when, the Avengers were kind of splitting up, because, there was that whole thing, and, where, again, I don't want to spoil anything, but there was just, a lot of stuff going on there, and this was kind of an origin story for Natasha Romanoff, Black Widow. Kind of what happened when she was, kind of forced into the life of being a Soviet spy and assassin and all that. It kind of goes back to her family, not really her family, but kind of her pretend family. They were all Soviet spies as well. Her sister, again, not really her sister, but she didn't know anything about that. Only Natasha and her mother and her father, they were all in on the Soviet spy thing, acting like Americans and, stuff like that. And I did not review this for the Sins review, but I did write kind of a review on my Facebook page and my Instagram, and I gave it a full Sins. And yeah, because I really loved it that much. I think it was one of the best Marvel movies ever. And yeah, I heard this Spider-Man No Way Home, they say that's the best Marvel's. I'm sorry, I don't like those Spider-Man movies. I just don't. That's just my opinion. Everyone's allowed to have their opinion, but I personally really loved Black Widow, and I think it's the best Marvel movie I've ever seen. And I feel like it's easier to relate to her because she's not really a superhero. She's really just a human being that's has specialized training, and she's obviously, badass, and she can really kick butt, and yeah, but again, she's not like a superhero or a god like Thor. She's very vulnerable, not just physically, but you definitely see a little more of the emotional stuff, um, especially in this movie, in regards to the whole thing with her family, and kind of, I guess, coping with kind of what was going on and finding some form of, I guess, reconciliation. It was definitely good. It was great even, and I highly recommend. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. Anywhere. I'm pretty sure that Black Widow is probably still on Disney Plus. So if you have that, you can watch it there. So, Mortal Kombat. Yeah, I saw this movie in theaters. I'm pretty sure it was the second movie that I saw after Godzilla versus Kong, and then after that, I think it was Demon Slayer, Mugen Train. But anyway, so I obviously reviewed it for the Sins review a little later. Again, I watched a lot of these movies in theaters before I, was really committing to doing the Sins review in September. But yeah, I thought this movie was great. I never played the games, but it was entertaining. It just so I didn't really have a reference to like the nostalgia to be like against it if it was unfaithful to certain degree, or stuff like that. But I thought it was entertaining enough, and it just, yeah, and obviously it's you know this one was rated R instead of PG-13, like the Paul W.S. Sanderson Mortal Kombat from the 90s. Um, and it was obviously fans of the video games, I guess, were this was highly anticipated, and I know that not everyone loved it or anything, but I personally did. I thought it was cool. It had action. It was kind of fantasy based, and yeah, it had the gore and all that stuff. But yeah, I definitely would say it's one of the definitely the best um, films that I saw last year, 2021, and I definitely it uh, definitely deserves the number 2 spot on this list. Wowza! I mean, should we even be surprised? I had quite a bit to say about this film. Margot Robbie has Harley Quinn, and Let's Go Cena, Cena Sucks, Peacemaker, yeah, it was just one of the great ones. I actually watched it again on HBO Max last night because, and before that, um, I watched The Matrix Resurrections, and yeah, I am planning on reviewing that for the Sins review. But let's get back to the Suicide Squad, and not just Suicide Squad. The Yeah, I know I don't have to go over that again. I thought it was great. There's a lot of unexpected turns. As I understand, it was more of a reimagining of things from like the original comic book and all that. But it was at least, I thought, entertaining. Again, I don't know too much about what was faithful, what was reimagined. But I definitely liked it, especially Harley Quinn and Black. No, yeah, Bloodsport, played by Idris Elba. I thought he was a cool character. There's quite a few cool characters there, but yeah, it was definitely, you know, one of the most entertaining action sci-fi sort of based movies that I saw from last year, and it definitely deserves my number one spot on this list. So anyway, that's my top 10 movies from 2021. I'm interested to see, you know, what were your guys' favorites. You know, leave them in the comments, and you know, like, subscribe, and consider supporting me on Patreon if you want to. Again, this is, you know, all up to you guys, but it kind of helps, and I really do kind of want the Sins review to continue going, and, you know, for it to have, like, you know, a huge following, because so far it seems like it's not so much, but it's, you know, that's okay. But still, I do appreciate those who have commented on my videos, who have commented on, you know, my episodes, the Sins review, and thank you for watching this video, and I'll catch you guys later.
Double machine guns, motherfucker!